Yeah, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Awesemo.com NFL Deeper Dive Showdown edition presented by No House Advantage. I'm Dave Loughran. Hit your boy up on Twitter at Laffy_D. Joined by Ben Rasa, as always, at Jazzrez DFS. Got the new avatar over there looking fresh with the toad. And, welcome back to newly married Awesemo himself, Alex Baker at Awesemo DFS. And let me just say, I said it before the show, but the dance video, absolute gold mine, dude. You killed it. I'm happy for you and congratulations. Glad to have you back.
Thanks, man. It's good to be back. It was hard being away from DFS for a week, and let me tell you, DFS can be pretty fun. So I was a little bit bored on the honeymoon, but I won't tell my wife that.
Did you? I mean, you're not the type of guy that would like enter lineups on their phone anyway. So did you just stay away from it entirely? Did you dabble in any gambling? Were you in a place where you could do any of that?
So I was in Mexico. So when I got there, I was like, you know what's legal here is online poker. So I was like trying to load up Poker Stars, but there are like too many hoops to jump through to like actually play. So I just I bought some NFTs instead.
Nice. Minor withdraw.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that happening. Anyway, we got a lot to dive into. Only a single game, but man, 54-point total, 2-point spread, about 28 and 26-point implied totals for these teams. I mean, you're talking big stuff here, Ben. And these divisional rivalries in the NFC West, it feels like they could go either way. Defensive battle, shootout, just really good teams. It's tough to know which way they're going to break, but both of these teams have a ton of offensive firepower.
There's no doubt. And yeah, we're going to get a million of these because no matter what matchup you have in the NFC West, it's serious business. So, the Rams played the Cardinals last week. We had Niners, Seahawks. Now we kind of flip some of these matchups. Going to be back and forth games. We got a healthy total tonight. Points are to be expected. So, it's a really even matchup. I like this. Really excited to dive into it.
All right. Well, let's do just that. I'll ask you this too, Alex. When we break down both teams, we'll build a lineup. Obviously, we'll give you some of our top props and bets. I got one I really like after getting crushed by that Larry Roundtree prop on Monday. But when it comes to slates like this, where you have a lot of really quality players, but you have a wide receiver that is actually the highest price player in the pool. I mean, you get that sure with bad teams like a Christian McCaffrey when they're facing Houston. And, once in a while that happens. But usually when you have these two super potent offenses, both the quarterbacks are at the top. How do you approach a slate like this or a game like this when you have a wide receiver all the way up there? And at our Awesemo Showdown top plays tool actually has the lowest leverage score in the game.
Well, yeah, I mean, anytime there's a wide receiver that's going to be incredibly popular, like it can be a good fade, even if it is someone that's been absolutely on fire with like Cooper Kupp, just because there's so much volatility in the wide receiver position that no matter how good they are, there's a high chance of a bust. So that's kind of interesting to maybe fade him there, but he's been amazing. Like the Rams offense has not disappointed at all. Matt Stafford has been a nice upgrade over Goff, and Cooper Kupp's been getting like a ton of targets. So we got to make some stands here and there. I think that if there's a chalk wide receiver, that's not a bad spot.
Well, we're happy to have you guys with us as always, but you already knew that. Almost at 100 likes. We haven't even said anything yet. We've been live for what, like 3 minutes here? So, I mean, you guys, it's just, I don't have to say a thing. It's wonderful. Appreciate you in advance. And hey, subscribe to the channel too if you haven't done so. We crushed 60,000 just last week. We're basically at 61,000 already. And this is the best job out there with the best viewers that we could find. And I know I'm pulling like a Nick Sirianni with the pandering act. I'm going to get a hat that says "We love our viewers" or some stupid shit like that, and then have a horrible show because that's essentially what he does as a coach. But in all seriousness, appreciate you. And if you're looking to join the YouTube channel, I think it's what, $2.99. You hit join, get the badges. I see the 6-month badges popping up. It appears you've got one now, Alex. So Congrats on that. The custom emojis, you can use some Dr. Ben action in there, Alex, myself, a lot of fun stuff and some other perks along the way. So thumbs up, subscribe, join, whatever you want to do. All of it's appreciated and it helps us a long way against these YouTube overlords. All right, let's do it. Ben, started off with you. Road team, LA Rams, 2-point favorites, 28-point total. Cooper Kupp has a 39% target share. 39% red zone target share this year, which is just absurd. Woods is at 26, Higbee's at 22. I point that out to say that these are the three guys that have gotten the bulk of work in the passing game in the red zone, whereas Jefferson and Deshaun Jackson are targeted downfield. When we're starting to look at this passing game with the receivers specifically, and by the way, no, Gerald Everett was not activated today. How are we approaching these top guys, starting with Cooper Kupp, who's very expensive, but has been wildly productive as well?
Yeah, I mean, you guys talked about it. He's been unbelievable, but he is priced up for a lot of that value. And, you know, you've got other guys, and it's such a prolific offense. I'm interested to see, and this has been a topic of discussion from the betting side to the season long to the DFS side, how much is Robert Woods going to positively regress, and maybe how much is Cooper Kupp going to negatively regress? So far, not much. The targets are really secure. Got to expect 10 plus once again tonight. But I do find myself pretty interested in those next tier options, whether it's Higbee as a pay down, you know, at the tight end position, who's been really reliable, or as Robert Woods. You're getting a significant price difference, $4,800 to Cooper Kupp in DraftKings. That's really, really big. That's a massive, massive difference. So I'm not going to push back on going to Cooper Kupp, but as Alex talked about at the top of the show, when you're talking about one game, anything can happen. And if ownership is getting to stratospheric positions, I'll probably try to mix and match with him.
What about you, Alex?
Yeah, I think Cooper Kupp, I mean, obviously amazing so far this year, but there's a lot of good plays tonight. So there was that report that Woods is kind of like the squeaky wheel. So if you're into that narrative, that could be a good option for the Rams. Van Jefferson, though, has been playing more than Woods. So he's been out on the field about 82%. Oh, sorry. I've been out the last 2 weeks. So it kind of flipped in the last 2 weeks that Woods was on the field almost all the snaps, and Jefferson had taken a little bit of a playing time dip. But obviously both out there most of the plays, really effective efficiency and everything. So I don't mind mixing it up with some of the cheaper options there.
Ben, speaking to what Alex was saying, there was an article, I'm trying to find it now. Here it is, from Pro Football Talk, titled "Sean McVay Vows to Get Robert Woods More Opportunities." Now, I feel like we've heard this stuff before from Sean McVay, not just for Woods, but for, you know, myriad players on this very team. It does sound nice, though, and he is a good player, is one of those things. It's like he does deserve more opportunities. Do you take this into account when looking at how he's been used recently and how he should probably be used more, and the fact that they're coming off of a big loss?
No, not really, to be honest. I mean, it's a situation where, yeah, maybe they get him a little more involved, but I don't know. It hasn't been that bad. Like, you know, he's got, let's see, what is this, 25 targets in 4 games. It's not exactly like he's been doing nothing. Now, Cooper Kupp has just been absolutely dominating. And you already mentioned just a massive, ridiculous 46 targets through 4 games. So I get it, but to me, it's not as simple. This is not a running back where you can just hand him the ball anytime you want. Like, they still have to incorporate him into the offense. Maybe they get him some looks and they're such a prolific attack, but I'm not going to just automatically boost Robert Woods just based off coach speak.
John Jefferson, thanks for the super chat. He says, for Dave to rent Silver Linings Playbook on YouTube. I don't get it. What am I missing? Maybe he just wants me to watch it.
Isn't that a movie?
Yeah.
I saw that movie. Yeah.
I've never seen it. But...
I saw it too. It's in Philly. They go to an Eagles game. I know that much. It's with Bradley Cooper and the girl from Hunger Games. What's her name?
Jennifer Lawrence.
Jennifer Lawrence.
I'm thinking of the wrong movie. I thought Mark Wahlberg was in that.
Nah, that's Bradley Cooper, man. But hey, John, thanks. Thanks. I maybe I will. Benjamin Riley also says, this is for you, Alex. $10 super chat. Congrats, Alex. Enjoy a cold one on the community. What a nice thing. What a nice gesture, huh?
Good, Benjamin. Thanks a lot, man. And thanks everyone for the well wishes here.
So you've got Woods, you've got Cooper Kupp, Alex, and then you've got somebody like Tyler Higbee. And I want to talk just, game strategy as well here, because if you want, you guys can follow along with ownership, of course. And I think what's free today, what's free on the site, we got the Showdown player projections are free today too, if you wanted to check that out. But from a game theory standpoint, it does feel like Robert Woods is going to be, moderately owned because he's not nearly as expensive as Cooper Kupp. But then Tyler Higbee, someone I heard Ben talking about on the odds show today, and I agreed with all of it. He's actually, outside of one game, been pretty involved. He has a 22% target share in the red zone as well. So I do think Higbee is one of those guys who's on the field so much that it's possible you get a decent game from him and maybe some red zone or end zone opportunities. How do you approach these, peripheral guys that aren't Cooper Kupp?
Yeah, we did get some breaking news here. Carson is out tonight. So
oh, wow. Okay.
Not unexpected. That's kind of what we've been anticipating since he didn't practice this week. But that makes Alex Collins and Travis Homer appealing plays tonight. So I think Higbee, he's the guy that we've been waiting to see flashes of that stretch in 2019 where he had like 400-yard games in a row. And it hasn't really happened yet, but he's got the playing time on average, been out there about 77% of the time on passing plays, running a route. So that is a very high mark for a tight end. And even though he's only averaged 9 points per game so far, that could change in a hurry.
I think it could. Ben, and you talked you talked a lot about Tyler Higbee, right? And on the odds show today with Eitan Shander. Great show. I try and tune in as often as I can over at the Awesemo odds channel. I would urge you, all of you who enjoy sports and specifically betting, to check that out because it's a fun show. And I mean, Ben's betting prowess is second to none. And I don't just say that.
Appreciate
I mean
you,
it, Ben.
Thank you.
Where are you at on Higbee?
I like him a lot. Certainly one of my favorite props of the day, and we did discuss this, was over 3.5 catches for Higbee. He's been involved. And the thing that I like, he's really converting, almost all his targets into receptions. So far this year, he's got 18 targets. He's got 15 catches on the year. So I really do like that. Seattle, they're fine against tight ends, but they're towards the bottom half of the league. Really nothing where I see that they can take him out of the game. And we've already talked so much. Cooper Kupp, extreme priority. Robert Woods, priority. Higbee is just kind of the third option in the passing attack. And with a team this prolific, 28 implied total, he can get involved and still coexist with these other guys. So I think he makes for a really solid play. I wouldn't be stunned to see him have another 5-6 targets tonight and translate most of them into receptions.
Yeah. And when you look, Ben, at what we've seen in terms of snaps, the first couple of games, Tyler Higbee was out there for literally 100% of literally every single snap. Recently it's been 75 and 79%. Johnny Munn's been out there, but he's mostly just blocking. I think he's seen one target on the season. So that doesn't really come off as something that concerns me all that much. As long as when Higbee's out there, he's running routes, and he's actually run more routes over the last 2 weeks than he did in the first 2.
Yeah. He had 1 week against the Colts where he was a little quiet, but other than that, he's had 5 or more targets in the other 3 games. And again, I kind of like that, the way this offense operates. He's not tasked with really being a focal point. He's still going to get some looks. I think they can get him involved in numerous ways. So price is right. Higbee's a really solid target.
And we had a question too about Gerald Everett. He is out for this game. Was not activated from the COVID-19 list. Doug with the $20 super chat. Congrats, Awesemo. Would you play Van Jefferson or Alex Collins at captain to fit studs on DraftKings? I'm just going to go ahead and assume this is a GPP, Alex. So Van Jefferson or Collins at captain to fit in the studs on DraftKings.
Yeah, thanks, Doug. Appreciate that. Okay, so I think that Alex Collins could be a trap at captain because he's so cheap this week. He just is a really good play, and I'm getting him a ton and whenever I crunch. So that makes me believe that Alex Collins could be quite popular at captain today. where I feel like Van Jefferson might be a little bit less owned. I think they're both good plays this week, so that makes me lean towards Jefferson.
Ben, I actually don't mind Jefferson in the captain spot at all. I mean, it's obviously a large field tournament play. You're not doing it in small field stuff. You're not doing it in cash, but I mean, he's got sub 4% captain spot ownership. He has been on the field a lot, right? Like 92, 77, 68% of snaps. Deshaun Jackson's getting mixed in a little bit. So that one game in week 2 is an outlier because Jackson didn't really play at all. But while Jefferson might not give you big numbers every week, and he won't, like verifiably, he will not give you big numbers every week. He is the type of guy that can rip off some long plays. Had 6 of 6 for 90 and a touchdown last week. Opening week, he was in every optimal lineup on the showdown slate, had 2 for 80 and a score. I like at least that you have that splash play upside from Van Jefferson.
Yeah, 3 out of 4 weeks, 20+ yard reception. And I think what we're all kind of saying in different ways, to at least this is how I interpret it, is Alex Collins probably outscores Van Jefferson, maybe slightly more if you ran it. But when Van Jefferson outscores Collins, it's going to be massively potentially. And I think that's the intoxicating thing about the combination of the ownership. Collins is going to be really popular. People are going to use him in cash because he's got a very safe floor relative to his price. But Van Jefferson as a boom bust option tonight is really intriguing because he's in a prolific offense. And again, when he connects, it could be a 50-yard touchdown and you're there just off that one play.
What about Deshaun Jackson?
That's your, silver linings playbook. I don't know. What? He's a former Eagle. That's your account, Laffy.
You've watched football. I mean, it's not like you don't.
I know he's just. I really wish, honestly, he wasn't incorporated into this offense as much. It's just another. It feels like a saturation point. We've talked about Kupp and Woods and the tight ends, and we're going to get to Darrell Henderson in the backfield. Deshaun Jackson is someone that he kind of just cannibalizes other guys' production. I don't think personally that I'm willing to roll the dice with him, but he makes, I think, the pass a little more narrow for some of those fringe Rams options.
What about you on these two guys, Alex?
Yeah, I think Jackson has been incredible in the last few seasons when he's been on the field. The problem is he's not on the field very much. So he's played 3 games. He hasn't been out there more than 40% of the time. So unless you get an injury to another wide receiver, it's hard to think that he's a very good option, like other than the fact that he could break a big play, which is certainly a possibility. And then who else are we talking about here?
Jackson and Jefferson.
Oh, Jefferson.
I know you talked a bit about Jefferson.
Yeah, I think Jefferson's the better bet. Like he's not targeted quite as much, but he's out there a lot more. So I think that sometimes playing time is a good reflection of like the skill level of a player. And Van Jefferson being given on par playing time with Robert Woods almost kind of indicates how much confidence the team has in him.
It's pretty crazy to think, though, that the one thing, Ben, and let me just go back to you for a second here. This is why I think Jackson at least has some viability. Of all receivers who have run at least 20 routes, right? And that's not a lot of routes. He's run 36. He leads all of them in yards per route run at 4.08. So he's targeted on one of every 4 routes he runs. So yeah, you're not getting a lot of opportunities in terms of being on the field from Jackson, but it certainly appears that there are times where McVay has made an effort to get him the ball when he's on the field. Now, it might only be 3 targets. It might only be 2 targets, but you're pretty certain that at least one of them is going to be a deep shot downfield. And as we saw in week 3, they really tried to get him that long ball for a touchdown, which they eventually connected on. That's the only thing that keeps me looking at him a little bit here.
I mean, I totally get it. He is the type of guy that truly one target could do it, but I do think you're honestly drawing to only a couple. And I go to the prop market for these things. Deshaun Jackson's receptions prop is over under 1.5, and it's slightly juiced to the under. So Vegas kind of expects this to be a pretty minimal output. Now you're right. It may only be 1 and maybe it's a gigantic play, but some of these other guys like Van Jefferson, even though they're a high range of outcomes, his prop is still 3.5. Like he's expected to get some work. So I think there's levels within the Rams offense in that regard.
Matt Gajeski and I talked about it on this morning strategy show that you could probably play both of them in some of these large field tournaments. mean, Alex, you weren't. Go ahead, Ben. What were you gonna say?
No, that's fascinating. I mean, obviously with Stafford in there, that's a different wrinkle of targeting the passing attack and maybe going to some of the secondary options.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, CJ Usoma, I always get that wrong. And he probably had a reception prop of 1.5 the other day. And I think Neil Orfield, I'm sure you saw it, Alex, our buddy, and now our coworker or so, what would you call it? An associate, maybe? I don't know, whatever. Guy that wins a lot of money playing DFS and is coming up after us on Live Before Lock. He had Donald Parham and Jared Cook in the same lineup that chopped the millie only 4 ways on Monday. So crazy things happen in these large field tournaments.
Dude, yeah, Neil had an amazing takedown. I think he won like 300K or something.
Yeah, yeah.
And I saw him tweeting that he wished all 3 tight ends got there. So like I have a feeling he could have won even more. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, I think getting a little bit weird in those milli makers makes a lot of sense. Sometimes because if you just play a really strong lineup, you're just going to have the same lineup as everyone else.
All right, Alex, sticking with you here. How are we targeting the run game for the Rams? You have Darrell Henderson, who in the 2 games that he's played from start to finish, right? Because he got hurt in week 2 in the second half. Sony Michel came in, and then Henderson didn't play week 3. Sorry. In the 2 games he's played from start to finish, he's played 94% of snaps and 90% of snaps, while Sony Michel has been, largely an afterthought. Are you high on Darrell Henderson today? Because he's not on the injury report. It appears that he's back to full strength, and he did play last week. Last week.
I think that he's been he's a good play today for sure. Like it was interesting because when they traded for Sony Michel, I was kind of expecting it to be more of a split. But so far, we've seen Henderson in the 3 games he's played, he's averaged about 60% of the rushing attempts, while Sony Michel has averaged about like 15 to 20% in those games. So now the health situation, I'm not like super familiar with Henderson because I did see him miss a game, but I'd say based on last week where he was in for 60% of the rushing attempts, he's a safe bet this week.
Ben, Henderson in the Rams backfield?
Yeah, I actually feel pretty comfortable with it. I was interested to see kind of where he would be at. And I know it was a big game against Arizona and they lost. So they needed all hands on deck, but 14 carries, 6 targets, that's pretty healthy. It's ribs seems like it's, I'm not a doctor, even though I pretend that I am. Like, it seems like it's not something that's going to linger, maybe pain management. So I think he's going to be pretty active. And then I look at Seattle. I do lean, it's worth noting, at least for me, I lean to the Rams in the game. So I think there's a real chance they're running late in the game. Seattle's 25th in the league in rushing yards allowed per attempt, 4.6 yards. They haven't been great against the run. So I think Henderson's got a pretty good opportunity here. And I assume that he will be pretty busy in multiple game scripts.
Yeah, you look at this matchup, though, and you see a couple of things. One, Matthew Stafford likes to throw the football. There's no doubt about that. But Darrell Henderson, if he's in there getting 85% of the running back carries, that is, you don't find that on most teams. Now, here's a crazy stat for you, Ben, though, that I think Henderson's clearly going to get his, and I'm not worried about it. But I was looking at this earlier, and it's crazy that Stafford has attempted more passes at the goal line than any quarterback this year. Now, of course, some of that's just been that they've been hyper efficient offensively, but 62% of their total goal line plays have actually been passes. So I love the idea that Henderson is getting most of the work. I don't love that they're more than willing to pass. It's like Aaron Rodgers from last year, that they'll just throw at the goal line because you have guys like Kopp and Higbee and even Robert Woods.
No doubt. I also don't like that, the Chiefs are guilty of this too. They're such dynamic offenses. They run things around the goal line. It's like, they hand it off to the tight end. Like, they do a lot of stuff that's untraditional, and it does hurt what should be the guy that's going to capitalize in that regard. But the thing I like about Henderson, they seem to be willing to give him such valuable targets. And we've talked about that from Derrick Henry all the way down to Kamara, who's on the other side of things right now. when you can get 5-6 targets, it really takes the pressure off having to find the end zone. And that's what I like. If they fall behind, I don't think he's going to be phased out, particularly because Sony Michel can't catch the ball either.
Alex, anything else on the Rams you want to hit on? Kicker, defense, anybody we've missed?
Sure. Yeah, I think that defense is pretty intriguing here. Given that the total is really high, I don't think many people are going to go there, and they're kind of on the cheaper end tonight. So I think that's one way you can kind of mix it up a little bit is you build a Ram stack, you play the defense. It's not a high percentage play, but I don't think it's going to be a popular one either.
Okay. So I'm sure you guys already have heard about No House Advantage. Ben, they've heard of No House Advantage, I'm sure, right?
But tell them more. Tell them more, Lofty.
I'm glad you mentioned that because, well, there's a couple things about No House Advantage that make it different and also make it a really good place to win money. The first thing, well, $25 deposit bonus when you sign up, deposit using the promo code Awesemo. That's simple. AWESEMO. Take advantage of that. No doubt about it. But also, Alex Baker over here, #1 ranked DFS player out there, and many other sharp minds behind the scenes at Awesemo have created tools that are entirely free every day of the week, specifically for No House Advantage, the No House Advantage player prop tool and the No House Advantage optimal lineup tool. So if you're playing over there, you're watching this, there are plenty of people that play at No House Advantage that don't know what Awesemo is. You know, I'd love just for my own ego's sake to assume that everyone that's played at No House Advantage is because of my wonderful reads sending them over there. But unfortunately, that's not the case. However, that's good for you because you can exploit these tools, use these tools to your advantage. And Ben, how many times do I have to say it? The one real advantage, the biggest probably, is the static props over at a player prop site where you're picking straight overs and unders.
No doubt about it. We just saw Carson's ruled out. Boom. If there were props on Alex Collins, they would be absolute layups. The other side, you've got things like Sony Michel's rushing prop. It doesn't budget for Henderson getting a full workload. There's massive edges that the books can react to, but No House Advantage can't. And like Lavi said, in addition to not everyone knowing about us, people don't realize this and they don't take advantage of it. So you are so far ahead of the game. If you just use our tools and compare them to those lines, you are going to be printing money over there. It's a really good starting point to take a look at.
Everyone just wants to assume that everyone knows this stuff, but they don't. They very simply don't. Sports books are largely profitable for a very good reason. It's because most people don't pay attention to a lot of stuff that can give them an edge. So use the promo code Awesemo, AWESEMO, get $25 when you sign up and deposit. NoHouseAdvantage.com, download it in the App Store, go to the Google Play Store. But in case you were wondering, it's player prop contest across all of the major sports, 100% peer-to-peer to help level the playing field, which makes it way easier for you to win compared to traditional DFS sites. Check it out. Largest provider of player props in the industry. And, well, you get a nice deposit bonus. You use the free tools, and you take advantage of those static props that most people aren't looking at. All right, Alex, let's flip to the other side of this one with Seattle. Russell Wilson and Matt. Oh, let me ask you real quick. Are you going heavy Matthew Stafford in the captain spot today?
That's a good question. I think quarterback captain is always a little bit dicey because the receivers can outscore them pretty easily. But in this case, you have 4 receivers that all can do pretty good. And it's not necessary that one of them has a huge game for Stafford to have a good game. So I do feel like picking Stafford at captain and then 2 of those receiving options in the flex is a pretty strong strategy.
All right. Ben, last thoughts on Stafford before we move on?
He's, obviously a premier play. He doesn't run. So when you do use him, you're really going to want to load up on his pass catchers because, and I know I've said this with Darnold and now he's Mike Vick, but I'm pretty confident that Stafford is not going to be running wild tonight. So you really want to load up on the pass catchers, but he's one of the safest, best plays on the slate for sure.
All right, Alex, these 2 quarterbacks are 1st and 4th in yards per attempt this year. 9.6 yards per attempt for Wilson, 9.0 for Stafford. They're 2nd and 5th in touchdowns with 11 for Stafford, 9 for Wilson, who has 0 interceptions. So the crazy thing about Wilson is his passing volume really hasn't been that high. at all. I mean, he's at 23, 32, 31, and 23 passing attempts. He's been hyper efficient and he's produced 2+ passing touchdowns in 3 or 4 games. This feels like one of those games, though, that he might be forced to throw a lot more than he normally would against a really good offense in LA.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that a lot of times it can be a little deceptive to look at just the rushing and passing rates without taking into account the game script. So we have that all on the advanced stats page on the site if you guys are interested. But in neutral game scripts, it does look like Seattle has run the ball about 46% of the time this year, which is a little bit higher than you'd like to see with an elite quarterback like Russ Wilson. However, because the matchup is tough, we actually have them projected to only rush about 40% of the time in this game. So the chance that we see more volume from Wilson tonight is pretty good.
Ben, the one thing that stands out to me, and I've heard talked about a lot, is that, you know, this is that Chris Carson being out is going to affect Russell Wilson a lot. I personally don't think it affects him much at all. I don't think that Carson's been that good or that Alex Collins is a significant downgrade from him today.
Totally agree. The last thing I'd say to that too, Alex Collins and Chris Carson's skill set are pretty close. It's not like one is a pure pass catcher and one's like a bruising back. I think they can mirror each other in the production. And just to speak to Wilson for a second, again, it's 4 games, but they got, in 2 wins, he's thrown the ball 23 times in both those games, and the 2 losses north of 30 in both of them. So clearly if they fall behind, and it's not a given that they will, but I think it's a pretty good chance, you could see Russell Wilson's volume get up there. And we know that volume is everything with a guy because he's extremely efficient, but we don't care if he has a couple mistakes. We want the 30+ pass attempts and hopefully maybe something on the ground from him as well.
We're midway through the show and more than halfway to 500 likes. Awesome. I think we can get there. I think we can hit 500 likes by the end of the show. I think we've done it in like 8 straight showdowns, assuming we've had that many thus far. So 500 likes. Let's make it a go. We got over 1,500 people watching right now. Helps us a ton with that algorithm. Only takes a second. All right. Sticking with the pass catchers here, Alex, I will say this much. I know Matt Kajeski mentioned today that Jalen Ramsey hasn't really been shadowing this year, and Matt's a sharp fella. I did go back and look at PFF on the shadow coverage matrix, and last year these teams faced off against each other 3 times, once on Wild Card weekend, and the Ramsey was, generally speaking, shadowing DK Metcalf. 74, 65, and 72% of all of DK Metcalf's routes, you saw Jalen Ramsey on him. Does that change your mind at all today about how you go about this, or do you not really pay much attention to that?
I don't pay a ton of attention to that. I mean, it's always interesting information, but the trouble is that, I mean, there's a lot of players defending each player, depending on like what kind of route it is or how the play goes down. So it's not so easy to just pick one defender. And the other factor is just that with penalties in NFL, like pass interference, the quality of defender and the fantasy production aren't always like 100% correlated. So I do think Metcalf, I mean, he's a strong play tonight, just like he is every night.
Ben, what are your thoughts on that with this matchup against a tough secondary and a good corner in Ramsey?
Yeah, I mean, it's not ideal, but I do think in general what happens, and I'm guilty of it too. You hear this all week and you're thinking Ramsey, and what probably happens is the downgrade in the actual matchup is overshadowed by people overreacting to how bad the downgrade really is. And it turns out that it's probably good to buy into it. And again, I'll go to the prop market. His receptions prop is right there with Lockett, both at 5.5, both slightly juiced to the under in some spots. So it's like, I don't think it's a huge deal. It's not a true shadow anyway. So is it perfect? No, but it's DK Metcalf. He can win against any matchup, even if this clearly isn't the best one.
What do you think about Lockett? You mentioned the props are very similar. He's the type of guy, and I know maybe he's been playing hobbled. It's very possible dealing with that hip injury, but he's the type of player who can pop off in a huge way on 5 targets like he did in week 1 or week 2 or whatever it was, and then have another consecutive big week and then completely fall off the face of the earth in back-to-back weeks. It's just why I was not particularly high on him for season-long leagues, because you never know when it's going to happen. But on a showdown slate, dude, the ceiling on Lockett seems pretty appealing.
No doubt. He's a perpetual best ball type guy when we talk about him. And you just said it. I'm going to read off the points. 29 fantasy points, 34, 7 and 6. I mean, there's just no middle ground at all with him. And he's always going to be in the conversation for a captain spot. He's always going to be in the conversation for breaking a slate. But I also think for top end players, he's got one of the lowest floors. And that's just the way it is with Seattle and with Lockett. So got to consider him. Definitely, I'm not going to shy away from that, but you got to understand that the risk is still there.
Jimmy Jam hashtag Eric the actor, referring to Eric Lindquist, but doesn't know who the real Eric the actor was. And that is a damn shame. Bet you guys don't either. No?
Howard Stern.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
What do you think? I don't know what's going on over here.
I figured you'd never listen to any of that.
Oh, that is bad take. Love Howard Stern.
Yeah. All right. The Artie years were clearly
back in the day,
like 2009. That was my that act Jack. We had a question. Why is it that late swap optimizer only works for main slates and not the showdown slates? Well, because there's nothing to late swap to. It's the only game, brother. It's the only game. All right. Alex, do you want to hit on just a little bit more on these two top receivers for Seattle? I want to hammer this down a little bit because we get a ton of questions on these guys, especially whether you buy into it or not, especially with this pass coverage for the Rams. So do you have any way to differentiate these two, or do you figure just try and get both of them into lineups as much as possible?
Well, I think that the easiest way to differentiate them would be ownership, because picking the right wide receiver every week is so challenging. But then I'm looking at their ownership on DraftKings. We have Kupp at 51 and Metcalf at 49, or sorry, Lockett at 47. So there's only 2% ownership difference between Metcalf and Lockett. So sometimes it really just is a coin flip in DFS, and I think we're looking at one.
Ben, Freddie Swain?
Yeah, I mean, he kind of mirrors, once we get past Kupp and Woods and those top end guys, it's kind of that next tier. And he is an interesting situation. We've seen it in years past with Seattle, and you'll know the name. The name escapes me right now. That third wide receiver, and he would pop up for big time plays super occasionally. I think his last name was Moore. But regardless of who it was, Seattle can do that at times where they have a very vertical passing attack, and all eyes are, Ramsey's going to be focused on either Metcalf or most likely Lockett. So I do think there's an opportunity there. Probably not captain viable unless you're playing, you're just going for a pure wild type team. But, salary relief, he's in the discussion along with Disley.
What about the tight end position now that you have no Gerald Everett and you've got, you just mentioned him, but like Will Disley here at this price point, we've seen Wilson with these games where he targets the tight end in the red zone. They end up scoring twice, and you're kind of just nowhere near them, Alex. But here we have Will Disley again with no Everett. I know last week he was, scarcely used, but is Will Disley someone that needs to be in the conversation tonight?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that, Disley, he was a pretty promising player, and then he had some big injuries in his first couple of years. So this is another opportunity for him because Everett had been running routes on most snaps. In the game where Everett was out last week, Disley ran routes on 63% of passing plays. So that's on the average side for a tight end one. So I think the targets haven't been there, but the playing time is. We do know that in the past he's been a pretty solid receiver, so I'm willing to take some shots there.
Any other skill players, Ben, that stand out to you for the Seattle side?
I mean, there are, complete flyers, backups to the backups, whether it's Homer or whoever, Colby Parkinson. Like, this guy was on the field for a decent amount. Now he's the flat min. You're not playing him because you think that he's going to do anything. You're playing him because if he gives you anything, it's going to give you opportunities and permutations that a lot of the field is not getting to. So you are really drawing to one reception or one target with a guy like that. But how many times have we seen a guy on Showdown fall in the end zone, with limited opportunities? So it is something to at least consider.
Talk to me a little bit about this backfield situation. We got into it a little bit, but when it comes to Carson being out, and if you're just joining us, Carson is confirmed out of this game. Alex Collins was pretty involved last week, and I don't see that being any different here today. Ben, to stick with you for a second, played 39% of snaps, and in all likelihood, he's not going to be a downgrade from Chris Carson whatsoever. And if that's the case, I know they're not running a ton, and I would expect them to pass a decent amount, but Alex Collins' price point is going to put him in a spot where his ownership will be, predictably and understandably high.
No doubt about it. I mean, he's in a really good situation. His price is not correlated to his opportunity tonight. So I get it. He's very safe. I think Alex talked about that right at the top. It's just, he's also going to be the most obvious pay down captain, the most obvious pay down option. And I guess my question that I wanted to throw to you guys is, say the game devolves and they're really behind. Is Alex Collins going to get the work in the passing game? Or are they not going to utilize running backs at all in the passing game? Or is like Homer or Dallas or one of those guys primed to maybe pick up some volume on like third down?
What do you think, Alex?
So I think Homer is going to be their third down back for sure. He, in weeks 2 and 3, he played 28% he ran routes in 28% of plays to Carson's 46%. So I think that's probably what we're going to see today, is a similar split between Collins and Homer. The thing is, I think I have a hard time seeing Homer get a lot more playing time than he had been getting, because they haven't used them as that all down back. I'm kind of wondering if DJ Dallas sneaks into the running back committee tonight, maybe takes a few touches. So I'm definitely feeling Collins, very confident about Collins, but then Homer and Dallas aren't guys I would overly invest in.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So Collins did have 2 targets and racked up, I think it was 36 yards last game through the air, which is nice. But at the same time, only ran 8 routes. So I think there will be some opportunity there. I'm not assuming that he's just going to be completely unused in the passing game, but I think you're right in that Travis Homer probably gets some work there as well. Is that a spot where you can just punt with Alex and hopefully maybe Homer breaks one off or has a short passing touchdown? I mean, a receiving touchdown, because the ownership disparity there is really significant. Alex Collins, if he doesn't score, could easily have a pretty awful game. He's getting around 30% ownership right now from what I'm seeing. We don't have the final update yet. Homer's getting around 13%.
Yeah, I think that that's probably pretty justified, because Collins is most likely to get the work from Carson being out. Homer, I feel like he's a longer shot to get that, although he has been. I remember Seattle was really banged up with running back, and he had some good games in the past, but I think Dallas also could sneak in there. So I'm kind of wondering, okay, so Alex Collins fumbles or something, he gets benched. Kind of wondering if Dallas will kind of absorb some of that. So I think Homer is a good value at 1K. I think that 12% is probably about where it should be.
Ben, when it comes to the captain spot on this slate, right? Because we're going to build a lineup in just a second, but when it comes to the captain spot or the MVP spot, what is it mostly that you're looking for in these large field tournaments tonight?
So, I mean, certainly when you're talking about a captain, if you think there's a guy, particularly to me, at least in the lower to mid-range prices that has extreme volatility, that's always a spot that I think you can consider for captain, because if you hit the ceiling, it's a monster getting the 1.5, but you're also able to now solidify the floor with quarterbacks, with guys with high volume, other things that you already need. Now, if you go with a really obvious captain, a quarterback or a big time receiver or something like that, then it just becomes, how can I minimize the dupes? How can I try to be a little different? So I think there's 2 schools of thought obviously the best players are the best players, but you also have to consider, are there guys, in that mid-range, the Van Jeffersons of the world, that if I hit the ceiling, that they could actually slide into the captain spot and really help unlock unique lineups.
All right. Let's go ahead here. And you know what? I'm not sure. Is our ownership fully updated for Carson being out, Alex? I know it had him at 4%. So basically assuming that he would be out, but will Collins come up when our last update comes in?
I think there's a good chance. It does take a little bit of time for everything to update, but the one question mark is kind of like how many people already have their lineups locked in at this point.
Right.
So I think he'll be one of the more popular players tonight.
And I wanted to ask you one more thing, just from a game theory standpoint, because I love the top showdown plays tool that we have over at awesemo.com, which, by the way, use the promo code. What is it? NFL Showdown DD. Gotta love it. All one word, all caps. NFL Showdown DD, all one word, all caps. Get you 25% off your first month of everything on the site. Awesemo plus platinum, football, basketball, hockey, PGA, NASCAR, everything, right? MMA, everything on the site. All of the tools, top stack, boom, bust. This one that I'm talking about right here, the top single game plays, ownership, lineup builder, all of the premium articles, you name it. And you can get the Fantasy Cruncher add-on. All these tools built by this man right here as well. #1 ranked player out there. And again, NFL Showdown DD, all one word. And if you want to just get access to all of our showdown tools and content and the tiers stuff and some main site stuff as well, our weekly pass, our express pass is $3.95 a week. All of these tools for showdown, $3.95 a week. It's an amazing deal, especially if you love showdowns as much as we do. Alex, Stafford has a 25% top play probability, so top overall score, 14.5% optimals in the captain spot, and 15% captain ownership. Are there any spots that you think here that are great leverage plays that might be more towards the top of the pricing tier, and any ones that you think are just kind of bad ones? Not to say you won't play them, but that they're just not great leverage plays and that you're staying away from in terms of just having a ton of them.
So my favorite leverage plays on most showdown slates are the kickers and defense, because they provide steady scoring. At least kickers provide pretty steady scoring. So the chance that they outscore everyone cheaper than them is quite high. So that makes them pretty solid bets. And defense kind of is a combination with having a high ceiling and being able to put up some steady points, where there's a lot of cheap players today, and it's not, or there aren't a lot. I mean, and it's not, it wouldn't be surprising if they all bust. So that's why I think punting with a kicker and defense in a lot of lineups makes sense. As far as
I'm sorry, go ahead.
The ownership fades. That one's a little bit tougher. I'm not seeing anyone that really jumps out, but Deshaun Jackson and Freddie Swain have significant ownership, and those are pretty long shot plays in my opinion.
All right. John Jefferson with like the 5th super chat of the night. Appreciate you, man. Says, I got a jet, gents, but thank you for the life-changing income boost over the past 2 years. Hope an Awesemo member takes down the loot tonight. That would be cool. And we will talk about that when we get to the Awesemo Hall of Fame, where we brag for all of the winners. And there are some huge ones over the last week with that beautiful Awesemo avatar sitting atop the leaderboard. But first, let's go ahead and build a lineup here. Alex, newly minted marriage over there, coming back from a 2-week hiatus. You go first. DraftKings, let's go large field tournament, the Millie. Who are you captaining?
Just to note, we got the ownership update here. So Collins is up to 42%.
Okay.
Nothing crazy, but okay, Millie Maker, captain. I don't want to get too crazy, but I find that if we want to leave salary on the table, which is a good strategy, the Millie Maker, we need to pick someone that has a good chance of being the highest scoring player, because I mean, that sounds silly, but we don't want too many ways a higher scoring player that could be a pivot could beat us. So that would limit it to about the top 10 players. I do think DK Metcalf, Lockett, Cup, all solid plays. I don't have a strong lean here, but I gotta pick someone, so I'll go with Metcalf.
All right, let's go with Metcalf at captain. Ben, that leaves us now with almost 7K per player for the 5 flex spots. Who you got?
So I think, well, we can do one of two things, Love. Yeah, I can work it through because I know you're next. I do think that Russell Wilson's probably going to make his way on this team just because if Metcalf really has a big game, certainly Wilson will be passing him the ball. And I do think Russ in general is a pretty safe play. So you want to just put him in and then see what we can find on the value section?
Yeah, sure. Leave me with shit. No,
sorry, bro.
We're good. Actually, I think there's a lot of great value options on this slate. So, or on this game. So I'm not worried about that even remotely. I'm going to go. So you have Russ, you have DK Metcalf. Honestly, I think that Homer, I think Travis Homer actually makes a lot of sense here. He's really cheap. His ownership is not going to be that high. And while Alex Collins did get a lot of the work last week, they've had a full week to prepare, or not a full week, but some time to prepare, understanding that Carson might not play. I wouldn't be surprised if Homer gets more involved today. And his ownership is, for a showdown slate, 15% is very low. That opens a lot up for us, Alex. And there's still that, not a huge correlation, but there's something there with Russell Wilson if Homer is going to be that third down back. So I'll open things up for us. We have 3 Seattle guys, Metcalf, Wilson, and Travis Homer.
Nice. I like that. I think Homer, he's definitely going to be a strong play in a scenario where the Rams are ahead. So another play that might fit this narrative is Darrell Henderson, who will get a lot of rushing attempts if they're ahead, and they don't pass a ton to the running backs. So I think he makes sense in this lineup.
You said Henderson?
Yep.
Okay. Ben, go ahead. We got 68 remaining per player.
68 remaining. So let's see. What can we do here? I do want to throw my support behind Henderson. He is the perfect fit because right now we're shaping the narrative that the Rams are just gutting them on the ground and Wilson has volume on the air. He's going to Metcalf. He's dumping it off to Homer, who turns out to be the better pass catcher. I'm going to say that Van Jefferson can also contribute here. Maybe hits one over the top and that pushes the Rams out to a lead. So you've got Henderson and Jefferson doing the work here. I leave you in a complete dead zone, Laffy. That's the one problem.
Yeah, that's brutal because if I go Woods, I'm not going with, we can't have Stafford, but we'd have multiple pass catchers there, right? So
Carson being out is a killer because I wanted to put Higbee, but it's still a dead zone. I mean, you're funneled to Woods.
Alex, is there any merit to going with Robert Woods there, even though you have Van Jefferson as well and Henderson? I mean, it's a tough spot for us.
So I think the only concern would be if there was some easy way to get Stafford in the lineup, but it looks like there's no pivot to get to Stafford, so I don't mind having 2 receivers.
Okay, fair enough. All right, let's do it. Let's go with Robert Woods. I just want to try something too. If you took, just curious if this would work. If you took Henderson out, put Stafford in, can you get to Higbee? You can. So that's doable as well. Probably a pretty popular lineup though, but you could go Metcalf, Wilson, Homer, Stafford, Van Jefferson, and Higbee as well. So just expecting a big game through the air from both teams. So there's a lot you can do with that. No doubt about it. I dig it. Okay, cool. And Metcalf struggled in this matchup before, but it really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Like you guys both said, he's the type of player that can just torch an opposing defense with his size and speed, no matter what. We have 2,400 people watching right now. 2,400. Eric Lindquist and Neil Orfield going to take over in 5 minutes, but we're 111 away from 500 likes. The ratio here, it's not bad. It's not bad, but I think we could crush 500 likes with 2,400 people watching and get to that 61,000 mark as well. If you haven't done so yet, there we go. They're flying. Okay, we're flying. We're going to hit that easy. No problem. Just look at it tick upwards. Beautiful thing. Boom, 458. Let's go. All right, Jordan, I don't want to read all of these because there's 1,000 from the Hall of Fame, but I do want to shout out our loyal viewers and all of the Awesemo subs So let's do this. If you're wondering what this is, when you have a big day, right, and you're rocking the Awesemo avatar, or even if you just shout us out, whatever you want, we'll throw it up there, okay? But if you're rocking the Awesemo avatar and you finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, this can be the quarter arcade, this can be the nickel, it doesn't matter. You win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum, $90 value. All right, let's do this. Up top, Rich Green, we're leaving this up there for a little while. 560,000, chopped the milli 2 ways with the Awesemo avatar. Did that last week, and I could not be happier to see that. It's beautiful. Oh, and tweet your wins at Awesemo HOF. You have to do that, and then you win the free month. Tag us in it as well, because we like seeing that. Carlos Manza, who just super chatted us saying, Alex woke up poolside wearing the same clothes. I'm assuming he meant you were drunk. $5,000 up top, and then look at that, $2,000 right down there beneath him. What else do we got? Keep this going, Jordan. See, dude, I can't read any of this. It's so small. Is that Dan Vita? No, it's not. I don't know. Go to the next one. Go to Neil. Go to Neil. Go to Neil. There you go. Neil Orfield coming up right after this. 300K, $299. He said we've been talking about Showdown Thursday Night Live before lock with Eric Lindquist and Awesemo.com YouTube channel. Maybe it'll be champagne instead of beer this week. I hope you're sipping some of that tonight, Neil. So congratulations. And obviously stick around for Neil after this is over. There's a bunch more. I'll get to it when we have more time. I want to be able to shout all of you guys out, but download the avatar, awesemo.com/avatar. At Awesemo HOF is where you tweet us when you have that big win and get your free stuff, baby. All right. Favorite bets of the night. Wow. 578 likes. Let's go. You guys are the greatest. Goody actually with a super chat says, Ben, do you think fading cup would be a good way to differentiate?
Yeah, I mean, you obviously can get absolutely crushed by doing that, but I have no problem saying I'm going to leverage with other Rams skill position players and hope that Cup just has a middling game, not an awful game, but just maybe doesn't score, something like that. So totally on board. Alex,
favorite bet or prop of the night? You got anything for me here?
My fun one is Stafford over. He's just been having crazy efficiency so far this year, and the Rams have been running the ball at a low rate. Their neutral split has been about 38%. That's bottom 4 in the league in rushing. So I think that combination, you could see Stafford go for 5K yards this year. I'm taking the over is at 297, but I think that might even be too low.
All right, Ben, what about you? What do you got?
So I certainly already mentioned I really like Higbee over 3.5 receptions. I'm going to throw out one more, though, quickly. Me and Eitan on the betting show on the Awesemo Odds channel today, we dug into Van Jefferson, and his longest reception is over under 19.5 yards out there. To me, that's an over. He's a guy that's done that in 3 or 4 games already. He's an over-the-top kind of guy. If you give me 3 or 4 chances at it, I will take that risk. I'm going to go over 19.5 for the longest catch for Van Jefferson.
Love it. Let me ask you about this then, Ben. You're the betting expert. And I dabble. I mentioned to you and Eitan in a DM today that the under on Sonny Michel rushing yards looked real nice, given that Darrell Henderson gets almost all the opportunities when healthy. It was at 22.5 at the time, came down to 19.5. Now it's at 18.5. Where do you jump off the Sonny Michel under rushing prop?
Yeah, I mean, it's not ideal that you've lost a lot of the value, but
I got on at 22, but
yeah, I mean, at the same time, if you're budgeting him for 3 to 5 carries, you're talking about 3.5 yards per carry. So I think it's in that cusp, but generally if there's a major shift in an illiquid prop like that, you've lost a lot of the value because that's a sneaky prop. It's obviously not going to take much to move that market.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right. Well, that'll do it for us. Alex, welcome back, man. Good first show back. We'll do that. We'll run this back on Sunday. Follow Alex at Awesemo DFS, Ben at JazzRaz DFS, and myself at Laffy_D. Appreciate you guys. As always, we'll catch you back here soon. Eric Lindquist, Neil Orfield coming up next, taking you up to lock. Peace.
Yeah, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the NFL Live Before Lock show presented by No House Advantage. I'm Eric Lindquist. We're going to be taking you guys all the way up to the, what time is it? 45 minutes to go here, 47. So 5:20 out here on the West Coast, 8:20 if you're there on the East Coast in real time. I'm Eric Lindquist, but guess what? Not many times you get to do a show with a guy who just got done going straight Bink City on the world here, but today, that's exactly what we got. In one, Neil Orfield, winner of $300K. Congratulations, my guy. He's at PlayerQ DFS on the Twitter sphere. Check him out. Neil Orfield, how you doing, my dude?
I'm doing well. I mean, I can't complain about the 300K. It's actually, so tonight I'm not only playing the largest field tournaments, I also have to do the 4-person play-in of the 4 people who tied for the Tournament of Champions to go back to.
Oh my God.
So
can we build the lineup together on stream? Is that what we're going to do?
So I already built a lineup, but maybe you can help me out because I am not a cash game player at all. And this is a 4-person tourney. So maybe it's more cashy. Maybe I need your help.
It's going to cost you. I am the chalk donkey. I'll tell you exactly where you need to go in order to find the 1v1 pivot of death. Looking forward to that. My God. Okay. So there's more pressure on the show than I anticipated, but everybody watching here that's going to watch me screw up for Neil, that'll be good times. Put that one. Yes. Good times counter. Now it's at 2. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you know when this and all the other content in Awesemo is going live. We'll cover No House Advantage a little bit later here in the program. Thank you so much to them for their sponsorship. But we got 2,000 people in here. Let's get to the analysis because they want to hear you talk about this game. We got a 2-point spread here for the Rams. We're seeing 54 total, a massive total here in this game. And of course, our quarterback projections are just kind of going off the chain for both of these quarterbacks in this spot. Matthew Stafford, his 323.3 passing yards that we project him for is the highest of all of week 5. We only have access to him on this Thursday night showdown slate, but Matthew Stafford, how do you feel about him in this spot?
I mean, I love both of the quarterbacks in this spot. Matthew Stafford's going to look great against the Seahawks defense. Just has not been a great defense so far this year. And Matthew Stafford's been amazing and he's got great weapons. So I don't know how you get away from, I mean, I'm not going to play them in every lineup, but I'm going to have a lot of both of Stafford and Russell Wilson tonight for sure.
See, I'm so worried because now all I want to do is ask you, what are you doing in that one main lineup? Because that obviously is a lineup that matters a significant amount more than just about anything that I've played all year. So I want to just ask you, are you captaining either quarterback?
Not in that one main lineup, which might be a huge mistake. That might be a huge, like, I'm a tournament player. I can't help myself. I got away from them. There are a couple of cheaper guys that allowed me to get both of them in my lineup and still have a lineup that I liked. So so I did not in the one that I've constructed. I did not have either of the quarterbacks in the captain spot. I've got them both in the flex though.
All right. Well, guess what, everybody? If the other 3 people are watching, just go ahead. You know you have some edge there if you want to go roster Matt Stafford in the event that he throws for 450 yards. But I'm not thinking that's something that we should be looking at in this spot. But both quarterbacks are fantastic plays. I don't know what else you want us to say. It's 54 total. Both of these defenses have shown some leaky spots for sure. The Seattle side, the Rams side, you know, you have Ramsey there. I don't know how to necessarily say Lockett or Metcalf still aren't outrageously good plays. They're outrageously good plays in any matchup. So let's move ourselves along to the running back. No need to meander with the quarterbacks. Play a lot of both. Going to the running backs, of course, we got the big news. Chris Carson, he is out. Do not roster him. Do not play him on No House Advantage. You will get 0 points. Travis Homer, that's a thing. Alex Collins is a major thing. How are you kind of breaking out the running back exposure? And does it change for you by sight? Because obviously on DK, you would see them all the way down there in the gutter. On FanDuel, I mean, I don't know how much we necessarily need them, but just talk to me about the running back side from Seattle first.
So yeah, I think I'm probably going to come in under the field on Alex Collins. I don't know what if we have the latest ownership projection yet, but my expectation is that he'll be like 40% owned at least, and I'm going to be under that just because I feel like the Rams have a pretty good defense. They might be able to stop him, and we don't know that he's going to have that featured back role, even though he had it I mean, for the most part, he had it last week when Chris Carson was out. So I'm not like going to 0 with Alex Collins. I'm going to have him in plenty of lineups. I'm just going to be under the field a bit. I wanted to get above the field on Darrell Henderson. I don't think that I actually got there. I like his spot a lot better than I like Alex Collins' spot. I just think he is the featured back, assuming he's healthy. He should have the majority of the carries, and against that Seattle defense that has just been torn up by running backs all year, hard not to like that spot.
Yeah, I mean, they have failed to hold a team under 100 yards rushing the entire season. That's not good. 212 yards to one Derrick Henry in week 2. Very, very bad. 140, 143 the last 2 out as well. I mean, the Seahawks are just hemorrhaging offense in every direction, and they've given over 300 yards passing in the last 3 as well. That's going to be kind of what you're looking at from the Seattle defense, I think, all season long. We're going to love targeting them, but in a game where it's just one or the other, yeah, we're talking the Rams. Don't you dare anybody talk about Sony Michel. My God, but put some respect on the name. Actually, don't. I'm not going to play a lot of him. I will have one captain Sony Michel lineup because I don't know if I'd be able to wake up tomorrow morning if I didn't. I don't think I would have the willpower to get out of bed if Sony Michel went off in this spot. Do you have any hope whatsoever for a guy who's not going to see the field very much?
I'm playing a lot of Sony Michel. You just told us not to talk about him, and now I'm not going to be able to help myself. I just feel like he's probably not going to do much, right? He's probably not going to do much.
I'm so...
That caveat. I want to say
God.
that. But he's like my Donald Parham from Monday night. He's a guy
XFL.
He's probably not going to represent. He's probably not going to do much, but he could. I mean, he could have a bigger role even if Darrell Henderson is fully healthy. They might just want to get Sony Michel involved. He's been on the team longer. He knows the system better. They might be more willing to go to Sony Michel than they have been. But on top of that, Darrell Henderson's been banged up. Who knows how healthy he actually is? There's a chance he gets knocked out of the game and Sony Michel comes in. So yeah, I'm going to be over the field on Sony Michel. Would I recommend it? I don't know. I don't know that I'd actually recommend it, but it's what I'm doing. I like to take a lot of long shots on those guys who might not do anything, but have a chance to boom. And I'll add, so Sony Michel, I feel like is a play that a lot of people are going to get to get them up to all of the top plays on the slate, right? Mm-hmm. So I feel like there is some edge, even if I think he's projected for like 10% ownership. There is extra edge if you can play Sony Michel in lineups where you leave at least like $1,000 on the table, because those are going to be unique lineups that not a lot of people are getting to. So yeah, I like taking that shot today. Yeah.
Neil,
those are my thoughts.
You're my new favorite co-host ever. I mean, first of all, you took all the heat off of me because that was a longer, more winded advertisement than I have ever made for Sony Michel in my life. I get the bad rap now. You get the actual rap, and that's what I'm excited about. Oh my Lord, I'm going to change everything. No, I'm not going to change everything, but I am going to add, hand build a couple Sony Michel more than I was expecting. Again, it's basically, I don't expect Darrell Henderson on a short week. This was kind of my thinking about it. And the only thing I wanted to talk about in order to justify even having a little bit and being a crazy person, but on a short week, do we really expect to bang up Darrell Henderson, who got all the work there, to just see all the work again? I don't know. I'm just willing to take the dart with you. I think coming off of just 4 days and just, I have question marks. And so I'm willing to take more of the shots. But of course, I knew I was going to get thrashed if I brought it up. So my God, thank you for existing. You're a lovely person. Anything else to talk about from the running back position? DJ Dallas. Can we be going to DJ Dallas down there at the bottom? Somebody that was an actual thing for like a week or two last season, kind of got plugged and play. I feel like he's kind of the de facto number 3. Nobody's going to question that. But is there any kind of a way that you'd be getting to him on this slate?
Yeah, I mean, DJ Dallas is another play that just nobody's going to have. Just kind of have to hope that he gets a bigger role now that, maybe they practiced him a little bit more this week. Maybe they got him a little bit more game ready than he had been. So yeah, I'm definitely going to be, currently I'm about double the field on DJ Dallas. I like Travis Homer as the receiving back. I'll be playing some Travis Homer as well. Yeah, I've got all those guys. I think I've even got a couple Jake Funk shares, but that's not a recommendation at all. No endorsement.
What?
There. I've got a couple. I play a lot of lineups. That's not even 150 lineups. That's like I'm playing like 100, like 200 lineups tonight. So
right.
Yeah, well, not a recommendation.
Yeah. So if a meteor hits the stadium in a very specific spot where the running backs are sitting and Jake Funk is not sitting next to them, Jake Funk is going to just absolutely break the slate. So I'm right there with
get you 4 fantasy points if that happens. So,
okay. Yeah, there we go. That's what we're looking for. That 1.3 yards per carry will really come in handy. That's the running back position, everybody. And if you want to be able to see some of the data that we're referring to, some of the projections, which I believe we have some projections free today. Is that correct? One, Jordan Klein, give me the head nod, yes or no. I don't want to say things that aren't true. Yes, we do have projections that are free. That is something you want to take advantage of. That is the words that I don't say. It's like basically every time that I say good times, Angel loses its wings kind of a thing. So, or, dies. So we don't want that anymore. But Awesemo Plus tools are where you want to check out for this data. $29.95 right now for the weekly pass using promo code NFL Showdown LBL, all caps, one word. I know it's a lot. Write it down, take a screenshot, whatever you got to do, because 25% off your first week is a huge deal. NFL Showdown LBL, to be able to see what we have behind the paywall, those player projections, ownership projections, premium Slack channel, lineup builder, and so much more. $3.95 if you want to check out the weekly pass, which is also something you should be checking out to see some of those things that we have behind the paywall, get a little early glimpse into it. But if you want the whole shebang, $29.95 and then 25% off of it, 25% off of it with that promo code. Stop guessing, start winning. Check it out. Thank you so much, Jordan Klein, producer behind the glass, throwing that up there. He's good, people. We continue on. We're on the wide receiver, and we're going to kind of group in the tight ends here in this spot as well. Wide receiver, man, there's a couple we should probably talk about that are projecting semi-well. Cooper Kupp, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf. Who's your favorite of those three?
Of those three, I've got the most of Cooper Kupp, so
Okay.
I guess I'll go with Cooper Kupp.
Okay, so just talk to me a little bit about Cooper Kupp. Are you over or under the field right now in our last run of ownership? Let me pull that up because, that seems like an important thing to possibly talk about here. Just slightly. Oh my, of course, it's not even up there, but talk to me about how much Cooper Kupp you have here while I'm actually doing my job.
So I'm like just a shade under the field. I'm basically even with the field. If he's going to get targeted 10, 12 times, I don't know how you get away from Cooper Kupp. He's just one of those guys that you kind of have to play. And if you don't, you have to hope that, Robert Woods just breaks one off, or Van Jefferson or somebody else just, doesn't give him that opportunity to get so many receptions or targets. So yeah, I think that Cooper Kupp is just in the best spot. Seattle's defense is a little bit worse. It's hard because it's like Seattle's defense is worse in every area. So like you want to play all of the Rams guys, and that's not how football actually ends up going most of the time. So I'll have Kupp in a lot of lineups, and then I'll have Gerald Henderson in a lot of different lineups, and then some together.
Maybe my favorite talking point for this entire slate is the MVP ownership for FanDuel. I find it very fascinating because right now 40% of the ownership is going towards Stafford and Wilson, and then you have 12% of Cooper Kupp. What are you kind of planning on doing? You said you're playing a bunch of lineups. I'm assuming you're playing FanDuel today as well, correct?
I am. Yep.
Okay, so MVP spots. How are you kind of allocating Cooper Kupp, who's at 12% MVP, considering he's super attached to Matthew Stafford? Are you playing more of one or the other?
I have a ton of both Wilson and Stafford. I probably would have changed that. If I had a little bit more time, I would probably have adjusted that more. I spent too much time on my DraftKings lineups tonight and then didn't give myself quite enough time. But yeah, I've got a ton
You have
of
a
Wilson.
milli ticket in the balance
exactly.
for the Tournament of Champions. I'm going to forgive you for that.
I had to focus a little bit more on that. Yeah.
Continue on.
But yeah, I kind of feel like generally quarterbacks are going to project better, right? So they're better MVP plays on FanDuel where you don't have to pay the 1.5 to get them in your lineup. So typically, yeah, I play a lot of quarterbacks in the MVP spot. And then I like to pair them with their less chalky receivers a lot of the time. I give boosts to the receivers who don't project quite as well, more so than, Cooper Kupp is going to get in those lineups anyway. So I give a bigger boost to guys like Higbee and Van Jefferson, Deshaun Jackson, those kind of guys in my Stafford lineups. And then in my Russell Wilson, I'll play more Disley and Swaim and those guys.
What a professional segue that was, because now we can talk about some of those wide receivers. I guess we should probably round out the Seattle side. We haven't talked about Lockett. We haven't talked about Metcalf. Do you just flip a coin? What do you do? What's your process for deciding between Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf in this spot?
I don't have a strong feeling about it, to be honest. So I heard, I was listening to the first half of the show before ours, and Laffy said that Jalen Ramsey has historically shadowed DK Metcalf. So if you want to factor that in, that's an interesting little tidbit. But in general, the Awesemo tools seem to like Tyler Lockett a little better without, I don't think they even factor that in. So that makes me like Tyler Lockett a little bit better than DK Metcalf. but
yeah, I'm
it's kind of
biased
a coin
towards
flip.
Tyler Lockett because I'm just weird like that. I don't know. I just felt like DK Metcalf last year got so much attention. I'm like, Tyler Lockett has just as many ceiling games, and he was like sub 5% against Indianapolis that first game right out of the gate. And it just felt like a smash spot considering everybody thought Metcalf was a better play for whatever reason. I don't understand, but price sensitivity would normally be a thing. They're both paired pretty close to each other just about everywhere on every site. So I'm not putting a lot of consideration into it. I'm probably going to have a little bit of both, or I'm going to be at the field probably on both. I don't really know what else to do. Are you above or under the field, do you think, on each of those plays?
I'm going to be a little bit under the field on both of them.
Okay. So, I mean, I love your process because I think what we're kind of figuring out here is just kind of being a little bit above on every play that's kind of like a de facto play and trying to be different and be over the field on a guy like a Sony Michel, like a Van Jefferson, who we'll talk about, or somebody in that regard.
Right.
Yeah, because then you can leave salary on the table and be different and avoid dupes and win 300K. Like that's how it works, right?
That's the goal, right?
Okay,
And obviously the goal
we'll
is
do that.
probably a little bit different for everybody. I know that there are people who play, only a few entries and they're hoping to win, $1,500. And for a lot of people, that's a lot of money. And if you're only playing a few entries, that's a pretty good ROI. So those, maybe if that's what you're doing, you don't necessarily need to leave all that money on the table. But I think generally, if people who are playing more lineups are trying to win a lot more than the $3,000 or whatever we're playing, so we're not trying to run out lineups that are going to win us $1,500 if they win.
All right. Well, I've got a couple of things to catch us up on, a little bookkeeping. First of all, Lemons AMS, $5 super chat. Thank you so much, my dude or dude. It looks like a dude. I was going to say, I want to make sure that it was gender neutral or dudette, but looks like a guy in his picture there. Lemons AMS, exclamation mark vibe. Big fan. Thank you so much. Appreciate you so much. A couple of questions that were kind of coming in. Rostership of Sony Michel. I don't know if there's like an exact number. I think Neil just basically said over the field, and I'm thinking that's kind of where I'm going to be going as well.
Yep. Yeah, I've got, so he's projected for 13% ownership, and I've got 21%, which is probably higher than is rational, but that's kind of how I play. That's what I did with McKissick. That's what I did with Parham. I like taking those long shots.
Donald Parham. I mean, what a monster. Best
that
ball shout out, by the way, XFL superstar. Those were fun days. I'm not going to lie. All right. And then a couple of other ones here. We got thoughts on Collins captain in single entry.
So I don't do a lot of single. Do you have thoughts on this? Do you want to start?
Yeah, I think it's just too low of a projected player. I would much rather, if I'm playing single entry, I mean, I just feel like those kind of builds put you into almost the exact same kind of build as most everybody else. And because the stars are so top heavy, I find it impossible that in this game, in this spot, that you're not going to get at least 20 to 25 from Cup, Lockett, Metcalf. That trio especially, I find it almost impossible in PPR format that they're not going to go over 20. And so I want to take a shot on one of those three most of the time, or Darrell Henderson in the event I want to just, jam in everybody else for the most part. I can get to a quarterback plus two of those. So I would prefer that direction, and then getting different elsewhere. I just think it's a little bit, he's going to project out. Everybody's going to have Alex Collins in captain.
Yep. I think I agree with you there. Just looking at my different ownerships. I don't have a ton of Collins in captain. So it's not something that I would try to get to.
I'm going to refresh here as well. And single entry, I feel like also kind of gravitates towards a little bit of a sharper field just because people are focusing on their one lineup. So Alex Collins, I just get the feeling in something like that, in that kind of an event, he's going to see higher captain ownership than what you would expect. But let's talk about some of these ancillary, tertiary is the lofty word for it, options from the wide receiver spot. Let's talk all of these other cats. We've got Van Jefferson. We've got Deshaun Jackson from the Rams side. We've got, God, I don't even want to say his name out loud, Fernie Floyd from the Seattle side here. Don't want to play that guy, but I suppose I kind of have to in Showdown. What are you doing with some of these other options from the wide receiver spot?
First of all, I think you skipped somebody.
There's
Robert
a squeaky
Woods. Wheel there.
Yeah, okay. Can you blame me? I think that Matthew Stafford forgot about Robert Woods too.
He's hurt me.
So
yeah.
Okay.
No,
so let's talk about the guy.
So generally, squeaky wheel narrative. I don't really know how much weight you want to put into it, but I like Robert Woods tonight. I liked him before learning that he was going to be the squeaky wheel. I think that he's a talented player. And I've had this talk, I guess, with Greg on Saturdays, I've talked a lot about Robert Woods and how I think he's just too talented to be ignored the way he has been. And he hasn't been completely ignored. He just hasn't really produced so far. So I think, yeah, I'm gonna take some shots there. I'm going over the field on Robert Woods. I don't hate that they're saying they're gonna get him the ball more, even though sometimes, that can be trying to throw people off the scent. I don't know what phrase I'm looking for here, but the coaches don't always say what they actually mean. but I'm hoping, that he's actually going to get Robert Woods the ball. I think it makes it at least slightly more likely that they will try to get him the ball.
Neil, you can rest yourself at ease. If there's somebody who is effed up more on these shows than anybody else, it's me. You're fine. You're doing great. You're crushing the world. I was going to say, I try to find phrases all the time now, and then people have to just like stare at me as I can't find it, or I say something even dumber than what you could have ever anticipated. So you are in good company here, my friend. Hit the like button for Neil, by the way, too. 300K is a lot of money, and he's sitting here with more invested than any of us in DFS lineups today. And he is telling you his exact strategy. It is hard to find something better than that. I think that's also why you should be subscribed. You should also check out his Saturday show that he does with Greg that he's referring to. One of the more popular shows that we have in our NFL grouping already. And Neil's just been here for a short month, basically. I mean, it's great to have him on the NFL team. It's great to have him here at Awesemo. One of the top players. You see his name everywhere. You're going to see it a lot more because he's going to be firing in every tournament from now until forever now that he's just absolutely grinding and in these streets. So take this knowledge, run with it, utilize it in your lineups because it does not get better than this. All right. That's my being nice to you so that I can now be mad at you when Robert Woods doesn't play well. And I just gave him the thumbs ups. Good times. And there it is, number 3. Let's go to the Seattle side. There's a guy named Freddie Swain that I just don't want to play. And then we can talk tight ends as well. We'll kind of put Higbee into the conversation, but stick with Will Dissly here as well. Is there anybody else that you're kind of looking at as being like a pass catching role that you really are utilizing on this slate?
Yeah, I mean, so both Freddie Swain and Deshaun Jackson, I'm going to be slightly over the field. They're not like unowned enough that, I want to have a ton of them because they're both over 10% or 10% or more projected ownership. And I'm just a little bit more than that. But typically those are the kind of guys that I like to take shots on, guys that, they might not do anything, but it just takes one catch for them to maybe take a couple catches for these guys to pay off their salary. But they're just not going to be, 30-40% owned. So if they do something, if Deshaun Jackson has a game like he did 2 weeks ago, I think it was now, then, you're crushing it. So yeah, I'll have some Freddie Swain and Deshaun Jackson. Those are the types of guys that, they have decent projections. They're not hugely owned. So I'm going to take shots there. The one of the wide receivers who I'm struggling with, I got some Philip Dorsett, and I don't know if he's going to play. And I'm not sure if the Awesemo tools, they were not updated at the time I was making my lineups, but he was called up to the big squad tonight. I guess, is that a baseball? Now I'm using baseball terminology here.
Yeah,
he was called up tonight.
It would be the term that we
he's
use in the
tonight.
football streets. But you know what else? I confuse the sports too. Continue on.
So I think nobody's going to have Philip Dorsett. All it would take is one touchdown to pay off his $200 salary. So yeah, I've got some Philip Dorsett, even though he might not play, but he's the number 4 receiver there, right? So it could happen.
Yeah. Hey, if he sees special teams, there's also like, I don't know. I have no idea. I didn't even know Philip Dorsett was a name that existed on this slate. We've heard his name before in the past, and not something you should be excited about, but it's something that if you're making a bunch of lineups, you kind of want to have that exposure to the bottom end, especially in some of your chalkier builds or, just in any builds altogether, just having him in the pool, because anybody who could possibly see the field in this spot has an opportunity in Showdown. We're analyzing one game. It's the same reason, God forbid, we talk about relievers or anything like we did on the baseball slates the last 2 days, but that's kind of season that we're in here. In Showdown season, very, very similar. All right, we got to talk No House Advantage here before we kind of round this thing out. No House Advantage is just a fantastic site if you're trying to build your bankroll and if you're trying to sustain it, because it's just a ton of great contests. There's overlay all the time. Right now, I'm looking at their $5,000 Thursday night football contest right now. Under 200 entries in it right now, 197 out of 300, $20 to get into that. There isn't going to be a better tournament that you can play for your bankroll than that one tonight. It's just a pure fact. It's underneath 300 entries. It's very winnable. And we have the tools and the projected stats to be able to help you with it. So check it out for sure. They have stuff for NBA when that comes back up here. MLB is still going now. PGA they do on Thursdays as well. It's 100% peer-to-peer. It's just like playing anybody else here on a DFS site, but we're playing props. And I'm looking at some of the props here right now. Don't play Chris Carson because, again, you'll get a 0, but we're ranking them in confidence from 7 to 1 in terms of what we believe their props kind of stick out as. Darrell Henderson is at 60.5 rushing yards here. I feel like that's pretty darn efficient, but your boy Sony Michel is down here at 35.5 rushing yards because now he's your boy. He's not my boy. What are we doing with Sony Michel on the slate? Is that possibly an over on NHA for you today?
I actually think that no. On NHA, I would probably go with over on Henderson and under on Sony Michel because Sony Michel is a guy that I like due to the ownership, and that doesn't really factor in on no house advantage as much. So I think I'd probably be over on Henderson, under on Sony Michel in that particular prop, and hope that I'm wrong.
I hope that I'm wrong. Yeah, see, I love building lineups where it's like, man, I hope I get this wrong, but you kind of have to be wrong to win some of this stuff. You have to kind of just acknowledge that we maybe don't know as much as what we think we do and kind of go from that. So I like that logic. One of my favorites, though, talking about it with Greg yesterday, we do a Wednesday show covering the Thursday stuff. Check that out sometime for sure for NHA. But Matthew Stafford, 300.5 passing yards. I mean, we're looking at it right now. I said 323 is what we have him projected for. That feels like a really good over to kind of hit on. How about yourself?
Yeah, for sure. Gotta go over there.
Perfect. Good. Well, I mean, that was super concise and easy analysis. I love that.
I mean, he projects way over 300. Yeah, no reason to take the under there.
Yep. So that's no house advantage. Again, check them out. Go get in that tournament right now, $20, and use promo code Awesemo to get you a $25 deposit bonus. Awesemo. Pretty easy. It's on everything on the website. Just put that into the promo code. That's really all I have to say about that. Stop guessing, start winning, but also beat your friends, not the house. Check out No House Advantage. All right. We got to talk about it. Kickers and defense. Everybody loves a good kicker and defense conversation. I think, did we just lose viewers? Yeah, we probably did there. Kickers and defense. What are you doing with them on the old DK streets today?
I'm going to have some. I am under the field on both kickers, just because, once again, the kickers are really high owned on this slate. They're both projected for over 20% ownership, and I have 9% and 15%. So, I'm going to be a little bit under. I usually love playing kickers. We talked about this last week. It's just tough when they get to such high ownership. I'm not going to force it to get over them. All
right. Yeah, I'm kind of at that too. I mean, 20%, I'm still okay at that number. It's more of when you start seeing like 23, 25. We saw 30%. I thought the kicker on the showdown, you absolutely took down and murdered humankind on that one. I thought kickers, it was a very strange. It was like a 30% and 11% split. I think part of that was just kind of how the salary set up to land on a 0 out, where one kicker just kind of was an optimal build for it. And the Tampa Bay side, it was Tampa Bay and New England, I believe it was. So it wasn't the one that you took down, but I digress. Now I'm going to start choking here. We're going to have two of us here choking live on stream. That'll be very enjoyable to watch. No, Jordan Klein said no, so I'm not going to do that. Talk to me now about defense then. So that was about all the time we have for kickers on the program. Defense, what are you doing with them?
I have very little. And that's not, excuse me. Sorry, I'm still recovering from COVID. All I've got now is a cough that only comes up when I talk or eat is the only remaining lingering issue I'm having. So apologies. But yeah, I have very little. I've got 6% Rams, 1% Seahawks. I would have wanted to do more. It's just I'm crunching so many lineups that I did like literally like 15 crunches, and I never got to the point where I had enough defense. So I would have wanted a little bit more, but I don't hate that I don't have much defense. I just, it's going to be a high scoring game. They're not the cheapest on the slate, so I can live with it.
Somebody asked me how many lineups you playing tonight in your main captain. I'm playing 150 on FanDuel of all places because I thought that would be a great idea. It's not a great idea because I ended up with just a crazy amount of quarterback and not getting very different as much as I would want to. On DK, I'm playing some 20 max stuff, and then I'm playing like 4 in the milli. Hey, all it takes is 1, I suppose. So let's do that. But I'm just going to kind of go with some of these builds where I'm leaving a ton of salary on the table. Wanted to be able to focus on doing a show with all of you fine folks and not go absolutely crazy, but I went crazy on FanDuel for whatever stupid reason. Here we are. That kind of does everything. That kind of covers the entire slate. Is there anything that we didn't touch on that you want to talk about from a salary, from a roster construction standpoint? 5-1, 4-2. Is there kind of a build that you're preferring a little bit more than the other? And then, of course, what are we looking at doing? Can you tell me the construction? Is it like 3-3 or 4-2 in that lineup, the golden lineup, the golden ticket that you have?
Man, I'm going to give away all my secrets.
I don't think anybody's going to change it.
I don't think any of those three are watching. Yeah, I'm not actually worried about it. Excuse me. Yeah, so let me find that lineup. But in the meantime, I did want to touch on. I didn't really touch on the tight ends very much, and I actually just got a DM about Colby Parkinson. And I'll say this: I don't know anything about Colby Parkinson. I know literally nothing about him, and I'm way over the field on him. Just because he has a decent enough projection on Awesemo that it makes me think he's gonna see the field is the expectation, and a guy who is gonna see the field enough is the kind, and he's projected for 5.5% ownership. So that's the kind of guy that I just naturally get over the field on. So I'm gonna have some Colby Parkinson, and it's not something that I feel really good about. I probably would have cut back a little bit more with some time, but yeah, I have a good amount over the field of Colby Parkinson. I do like Will Dissly. I would have gotten even more. I'm over the field slightly. I would have gotten more over the field on Will Dissly with more time. I'm about even with the field on Johnny Munt. He's another guy I don't know that much about. I don't know what to make of him. And then I'm even with the field on Tyler Higbee because he's projected to have a fair amount of ownership and he's in a good spot. So that's my rundown of the tight ends.
I wanted to give Colby Parkinson his moment in the sun. He's 6'7". He went to Stanford University. He's 22 years of age. Congratulations to him. He's had 2 career receptions in the NFL here. He's been here for 2 years. He had 2 catches last year. That's all you really need to know. He has the craziest hair that I've seen on Pro Football Reference, which is saying something. So congratulations to Colby Parkinson. Go check that out if you want to. My goodness, it's like he rubbed a balloon on his head and then took the picture. So just for your visualization, there you go. Pro Football Reference. Check it out. Yeah, it's lovely. So now
I feel better about playing him, to be honest, after hearing that.
Yeah, he's got goofy hair. He's 6'7". So I mean, maybe a red zone target. There we
also,
go.
He's like this week's today's Donald Parham, I should say. Really tall.
Donald Parham's actually good at football.
Target. Oh, is Colby? You should have told me that part. Colby Parkins is not good at football.
Yeah, I forgot to throw that in there. 2 catches in 7 career games, probably not ideal, but you know what? That's why we play Showdown, is so we can do fun stuff like that. 3.71 is projection. Again, projections are free today, so utilize those. I just got 1 share of him, so thank you so much, Neil. I just burned $3 into oblivion. I'm going to come back. Yeah, I was going to say, I bet that's what 0.0001% of your intake from Monday. So I suppose you could probably make that work for me. Either way, start getting those questions in here. We've got just under 15 minutes here before lock. We flew through that entire slate. I mean, it was nice. We had the guys just do a great job of covering it beforehand. Ben Ross, Alex Baker, nice to have them alongside Lofty for a Thursday night. Really enjoyed that. Hope you guys did too. Check them out here. They do a great job on the Sunday show as well. That kind of kicks off our 4 hours of coverage. We've got Josh and Adam Sherrod that get on a little bit beforehand there. Then they go on, and then it's me on Live Before Lock with a bunch of the other cats. I don't know who it is this week. I believe it's back to me and Savoca, and maybe Gajewski's on there, but maybe it's Josh. Either way, check it out. Our Sunday coverage is just crushing it this year. Really love working with all the guys here, and I know you guys are enjoying it there, watching on the old YouTube. But let's see. We have a couple questions. Parkins, this is exactly why I hated that you brought up both of those, because I knew the first question I was going to read from Nikki C. This is not his fault, by the way. This is just the question. Parkinson or Dorsett?
God. I'll say this. Parkinson projects better for Awesemo. I don't think Awesemo, at least last I checked, I don't think Awesemo has a projection for Philip Dorsett. So the expectation might be that Dorsett doesn't even make the field today. I'm going to play some anyway, just because he's the number 4 receiver, and I'm hoping that he plays some at 0 ownership, but probably Parkinson's the better play.
Yeah. I'm just even like trying to find out if that's, I keep refreshing it in the event that something pops up, but you know what, whatever. The Maggie Roberts in Premium Football. Oh, again, if you guys hit us up in the Premium Football channel here, I have we're going to get to you right away here. So the Miggy Roberts, is Cup a must in cash? I don't have a site. I'm assuming that's DK. So correct me if I'm wrong, the Miggy Roberts, but is Cup a must in cash? Do you believe so?
I do not believe so, just because he's more expensive than both of the quarterbacks. And I feel like in cash, you'd probably want to be playing the quarterbacks before playing Cup.
Yep.
I don't play a lot of cash, but that's my reaction.
That is the right take, I believe. I didn't play cash today. I don't know how the builds kind of work out. Cup is the best receiver just in terms of projection on this slate, but the quarterbacks are projected better and Cup is more expensive. That doesn't quite make sense to me. So I would definitely want to be going towards Russell Wilson, towards Matthew Stafford as a priority over Cup as well. Glad to be agreeing with you. Sam Cassell Dance, Henderson captain, cool, or a total donk move ?
I love it. I did not get enough Henderson. I wish I had more than the field is how I feel about Henderson captain.
I believe he's my third highest owned captain. Yeah, he's my third highest owned captain on DK. And that's partially just, I think he's one of the ways that you can get different with your entire lineup. Also allows for you to maybe fit in one more stud in some of those lineups. We don't have to worry about salary savings. We have guys like Alex Collins and Homer that are down there at the bottom now. So I'm trying to leave some salary on the table. And Darrell Henderson is kind of a path of doing that where he can maybe get 1 or 2 touchdowns that are going to be all him. And that's what I'm cheering for. So that would be excellent. And then, of course, Sony Michel, there we go. Kind of digging a Seattle onslaught. Is that an okay play?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Cool.
I've got plenty of onslaughts.
All right. Tuning in late. Oh, go ahead.
I want to see if you want to help me with my lineup.
Oh,
and
yes,
I like to do it with the angle of this is my lineup. I would like to play it. Are you going to talk me off of it? Okay. So I don't want to like create a new lineup necessarily unless you hate it.
Oh my God. Good? Yeah. But also I've never been under this much pressure in my entire life.
I love it. Yeah. It's a lot of pressure. If I lose, I'm blaming you. So let's do it. You ready?
Yeah.
All right.
Let's go. Yeah.
All right. Cool. So here is, I don't know if this is dumb. I'm playing Robert Woods at captain. My thinking there being he's the cheapest of the guys that I think has a good opportunity to do really well. I couldn't make the lineup that I had if I flipped him and had Darrell Henderson as captain.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'm buying into the squeaky wheel narrative. Am I already off base?
No, you're not at all. Okay. And not only that, but I think I know the rest of your lineup coming down the pipeline from now on. So that's what I'm excited about. Okay. It doesn't have a kicker, does it?
It does not have a kicker.
Yeah. So I think I know what the lineup is, but continue on.
So then I've got both Stafford and Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got Alex Collins in this one, even though I'm under the field in the big field, in the large field GPPs in this cashier setting, I have Alex Collins. I've got Darrell Henderson.
Yep.
And then I closed it out. So I had a kicker initially until Gerald Everett was ruled out. I switched Matt Gay to Will Dissly.
Interesting. Okay. No, so read off the lineup one more time.
So it's Woods at captain.
Okay.
With both quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Alex Collins.
Oh, so you're leaving some money on the table here.
No, I'm not. I'm using
that's zero.
Actually, that's zero on the table.
Okay, I could not figure out the rest of your lineup. I lied. No, I think that's fascinating. For me, it's so for me also, it's like looking at what are the other 3 people. I don't know the other 3 people, so we'll just, for all intents and purposes, say that they're good players and who they're going to be going towards.
I'll tell you what I know about them. So they're all 150 maxers, and they all had the lineup that
you've done your homework on these guys.
I read that on Twitter. One of the rundown sites mentioned that they were all 150 maxers. I double checked and it's true.
This is why you're better at this than I am. I love that you did the research to kind of figure out what they might be doing. But yeah, I don't think you want to overanalyze it. If it's something that's projecting out well for you, you like the read on it, it tells a story that you like. I think that you kind of roll with that, especially, this isn't something where you're trying to take down a 10,000 person GPP. You're trying to beat 3 other people. I think that there's a strong path to being able to beat 3 other people with it. I think avoiding Homer was the only thing I wanted to hear in that lineup. I think Homer's a great large field play. I just think that would be getting cute for something like that. So, I mean, even if you were to have 4 studs in it with Homer, I wouldn't have probably liked that as much.
All right. So I've got the Eric Lindquist seal of approval.
Yeah. You're fucked. All right. Continuing on. So, well, don't mess up. It's all on you. Yeah, I just messed up. Play Woods and Jefferson in cash? ?
Again, I don't really play cash.
I know.
Do
There's
you
a
have an
lot of
answer to
cash
this?
getting played here today.
Yeah.
I mean, this is normally like my streets, but I didn't play these streets. I mean, I don't play cash like almost ever except for NFL Showdown. I think it's just one of the best cash game spots because people, there's just some great single entry tournaments to kind of get in for some of that stuff for the 50-50s and whatever else. I don't really have a feel for it. Play Woods and Jefferson and Cass. I have to know what the rest of the lineup looks like. I would say Jefferson would feel thin to me. I would probably play him more in large field stuff, but that's just my early take without knowing sight, without knowing anything else. Colin's going to boom or bust tonight. Well, we have a boom bust tool, but I don't think we have it here for Showdown for the single game stuff, but we have some projected stats for things. I think Colin's looking really good.
Yeah, he projects well.
Somebody just said, Brink 7. Thank you for all your hard work at Eric Lindquist. My God. I mean, can I get all of that I can get? That was lovely. Thank you. Made my day. What are your expectations for the Timberwolves this season?
Hoping for 500.
In the words of Green Day, I walk these lonely streets on the boulevard of broken dreams. There you are. Cool. What's the entry fee for that contest in here with 4 people? It's $0 is the actual answer, correct?
Correct. Yeah, it came with, so it's
it comes with $1 million.
The Millie Maker winner also wins a ticket, but then because there were 4 of us who split, we have to do a play-in to get to get the ticket.
All right. D. Owens was patient here. D. Owens 89. Henderson captain with Russell QB, Lockett or Metcalf. Let me LMI. I'm not one of the cool kids. I don't know what LMI means. I guess I could let me in. I don't know what it would mean, but anyway. Either. Henderson captain with Russell QB. So Lockett or Metcalf. He's asking the golden question that if we all knew the answer to, we would be so rich.
Yeah, I have a very slight lean to Lockett. I don't feel good about it. I've always, like, my intuition tells me that like DK Metcalf is such a beast that he should be good in every matchup. But I know that was my thinking actually last year when Tyler Lockett won me a lot of money. It was on a slate that I wanted to get to more DK Metcalf, but the tools were telling me to go to Tyler Lockett. So I stuck with more Tyler Lockett, and I was grateful that I did.
All right. Somebody just said, so no homer in cash ? It's my highest projected line. Here's the thing. You can play him in cash. I'm saying for facing 4 other people, like for me, just a preference. I wouldn't want my day to hinge on a guy that I have no idea. Maybe he just gets all of the passing down work. I'm not completely sold on it, but I think again, that's kind of the narrative. We would assume that he's going to get the passing down work. That's kind of what's been happening, but I don't feel great about him. Does that's kind of all I felt about that. Let's see who else we got. Woods or Higbee and captain from Asobi in the premium Slack.
Sorry, Woods or who?
Woods or Higbee. I mean, you just put all of your money behind Mr. Robert Woods at captain. So I would probably assume that one.
It's Woods for me.
Otherwise, you would be playing Higbee and captain. So I think that's probably the easiest question we've had so far. Let's see. How much time do we have left? It doesn't lock for another what? What do we have? Yeah, it's not till 5:20. So we've got 5 more minutes, everybody. That's not enough time. Last minute item. Last man in. What are we talking about here? I don't know. It's last man in. Oh, okay. God. Yeah. Showcase Showdown. This is like a Wheel of Fortune where it's like, oh, you don't get it after the 10 seconds. And it's right. Yeah, we lost a car. That would have been fun. Let's see what else we got here. Don't change your last minute. Seriously, everybody's having like last minute panic attacks. Don't do it. You have 5 minutes. You got all the time in the world. I'm the only person who's allowed to have a panic attack when it comes to getting their lineups in. Somebody said, I hope Henderson or I am in trouble. I mean, Henderson, I hope plays well too. That's a fact. Let's see what else. Anybody else here? Fading QB captain ? Absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
How much? I do want to ask this because I'm now curious. Somebody had asked it earlier. What is your QB? So, I mean, out of like a 150 allotment, what is your QB captain rostership?
On which site?
On DK. Because on FanDuel, I mean, I'm just jamming as well. I'm just kind of finishing out my own stuff here as well and being selfish.
So I've got a combined 31% of Wilson and Stafford. I've got 21% Stafford, 10% Wilson. That's just kind of how it crumbled today with the way I ran my lineups. There were a lot of unique ways you could go on this slate. I kind of felt like this was an interesting slate where you could go a lot of different ways at captain. And so that's probably a little bit less than I probably would have wanted a little bit more Russell Wilson than 10%. But this is the way it fell down for me. So
I just
I'll
won
deal with
today. Somebody just said, Sean Preston, Lindquist starting to like you, pound beers. I'm a big fan of that one as well. God, everybody's being so nice to me today. Love you guys. This is just a blast to do. Someone's starting to like me. LOL. Yeah, no, I'm liking you too, Sean Preston. Lockett, Cup, or Metcalf, FanDuel GPP MVP spot. So which of the three would you prioritize the most in the MVP spot on FanDuel?
Probably Cup.
Okay. And he's the highest projected. And yeah, he's the best play. And I mean, obviously, Robert Woods, we're trying to make him a thing today. Robert Woods, be a thing for my guy Neil over there. He needs it. He can't buy that Rolls Royce yet. He's not in that category. So if we need to get Neil a Rolls Royce, we can all do it. And also, went by an SUV Rolls Royce. It was really nasty. It was really cool. Might need one of those. You guys are getting all mushy and shit. Shut up, Loco. I love you too. I will say mushy shit because I love you too. And you need to be hugged. So there it is. Stafford captain or Collins captain to fit more studs in cash. Oh God. Collins captain would probably make sense. I think he's going to be a crazy high owned captain, and that would be the better cash play, I think. If you want to know why I wouldn't want to play Homer in cash, probably that reasoning exactly. We've got 2 minutes left. Oh, we're ready to rock. Charles Kelly, thank you. You, my guy, Charles Kelly. Oh, Loco, you're the best, my guy. Let's see. Fantasy Cruncher. Yes, that is how we make so many lineups here in very short amount of time. I just made a lineup of 4,800 on the table. That really isn't for anybody but myself. Hope Henderson. That was the same question we had before. I'm kind of not seeing much else here. We got 1 minute to go. Everybody get your lineups in. If they're not in now, you're probably in a lot of trouble. Neil, you got everything in, right?
I got everything in. I'm getting messages from a friend of mine who is, I believe, watching the show and asking me questions about his FanDuel lineup at the same time. And I've answered a couple already, but he's got several about this lineup, and it's tough for me.
No, what's tough for me is when everybody in my family calls me on Sunday at like 9:30 a.m. as if they don't know where I'm at or what I'm doing. It's like, even if I hadn't had this job, you would know I'm preparing my lineups. I'm working on football. I'm doing the things. Some people just have no idea, but also your buddy sounds lovely. I mean, at least he's talking
a great guy.
DFS. At least he's talking the same thing as opposed to, who do I start today? Saquon Barkley or Darren Williams, or I don't even Damian Williams. I don't even care. I'm like, shut up. Like, your 1v1 does not matter to me in a nice way. Love you guys all very much. Somebody just said, last question. And how many fantasy points you predict ends up optimal? That's a fun question to finish out with.
No idea. I don't remember. I don't know how many I had on Monday. It's like 120 something, I think. Usually,
yeah, I'm going to just guess 141. 141, just for fun.
This high score in slate, I feel like that's a reasonable. Do you want me to tell you what the lineups are in my 4-person before?
Yes, I do. I want to hear it on the way out here.
All right. Oh, it's gonna take a minute before.
Oh my God!
I can post it to Twitter. Follow me on Twitter, unless you want to stick around for a minute.
No, at PlayerQDFS. If you want the goods, if you want to see what's behind the paywall, or in this event, what's on public information for free, but I want to get you more followers, follow at PlayerQDFS. He's pretty good at what he does. Neil, thank you so much for being on, for kind of getting all the way through the show. It was a blast. We were kind of all over the place for different stuff, but I had a lot of fun. I hope you guys did too. Please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell on the way out. Check out No House Advantage. If you haven't already, use promo code Awesemo over there. Thank you so much for their sponsorship. Thank you so much to Jordan Klein behind the virtual glass. He's Neil Orfield. He's very rich. I'm Eric Lindquist. We're not going to talk about it. We're out.